Make sure to check us out on Letterboxd for written reviews.
For films that we've done not only on the podcast, but outside of the podcast too.
Links in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Rewatch podcast. My name is Samuel.
And I'm Jaden.
And this is a podcast where we rewatch classic or current films every week and then decide whether they deserve a rewatch from you. Today we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. But before we do, we have a very special guest on the podcast today, and that is Heidi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
First in-person guest, Jaden.
Yep.
This is going to be a bit different.
Yep.
Yes, be careful of your opinions, Heidi.
We'll see.
Okay, so Zack Snyder's Justice League, what's it about? Determined to ensure Superman's ultimate sacrifice was not in vain, Bruce Wayne aligns forces with Diana Prince with plans to recruit a team of metahumans to protect the world from an approaching threat of catastrophic proportions. The task proves more difficult than Bruce imagined as each of the recruits face the demons of their own past to transcend that which has held them back, allowing them to come together, finally forming an unprecedented league of heroes. The most important thing about this movie, Jaden, is the fact that it's directed by Zack Snyder.
Yep.
And all of the connotations that brings with it. 77% on Rotten Tomatoes in terms of the critics.
Yep.
Which I think is by far the best Snyder cut film, critically speaking.
You mean Snyder film?
Snyder film.
Yeah.
Ever. Because I think even his best films like Watchmen or 3
Have less.
Yeah.
Okay.
The critics don't like this man, but they do now, apparently. 97%
That sounds about right.
Rotten Tomatoes score for the audience. I mean, you could have probably predicted that regardless of how the movie was.
100%, yeah.
But yeah, and then Letterboxd, which we're all on. And by the way, to the viewers listening, if you'd like to check out our Letterboxd account, all three of us have Letterboxd.
Yep.
You can go check out my account, Jaden's account, or Heidi's too. We're all on there. We'll put all of our links in the description for you below. So it's sitting at a 3.7. It was a 3.9 last night, so it's gone down overnight.
Yeah. I think the top we saw it at was a 3.9, but I mean, who knows? It could have been at a 4 at some point in time.
And there's still quite a few reviews coming in, obviously. A lot of people probably haven't seen it yet. But yeah, the most common review on the platform was 4 out of 5 stars, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, obviously, this film contains a lot of spoilery content. A lot of people wouldn't have seen it. So, we're going to go spoiler-free at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we do discuss anything, I want to go around the room and everyone can just fill us in on what DC movies they have seen or have not seen. Just so we can get
in terms of DCEU?
DCEU.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think we all have... None of us are the same because you've seen more movies than me.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, Heidi, do you want to start us off? What DCEU movies have you seen and what did you think about some of them?
Well, look, I've seen Wonder Woman, which I found it absolutely fantastic. I was forced to watch that movie Superman.
Guilty as charged.
What else have I seen? Aquaman. That was I watched the original Justice League. That was an absolute waste of my money, so this was quite refreshing. To be honest, I can't really think of any other ones I've seen off the top of my head, so it was a different experience watching this.
Have you seen Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I've seen Suicide Squad.
And Birds of Prey? Or?
No. I
Okay.
saw the trailer and said no.
Fair enough. That's a fair assumption. Smart decision, I think. Jaden, what's your history is when it comes to DCEU films?
I think I've seen all of them, apart from Wonder Woman 84, which is like an exception.
Oh, yeah.
Because
you saw half of it.
I
and
saw
then you
not
walked out
not
of the
even like
cinema.
half of it. I think I sat in there for like an hour, which is like probably like a third of the film.
Yeah.
Or just under an hour.
And not the worst part, apparently. So
and so thank God I left when I did.
Yeah.
Horrendous. That's definitely at the bottom for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of that, I've seen all of them. I think we didn't talk about Shazam, which is also another one, which I found pretty good. I mean, Shazam wasn't that bad. It's just an average film from the DCEU. But yeah, all of them. And now I've seen Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is probably at the top of them.
Interesting. Okay. So I've seen all of them except Birds of Prey, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Suicide Squad in like a pirated edition, so like a really crap version, but it was a bad film, so, in case
it didn't
get
detract
any worse.
from the viewing experience.
Yeah. But speaking of the DC movies, obviously this is a Snyder movie, and Snyder's done 2 DC movies before.
Mm-hmm.
I know Heidi has not seen Man of Steel, and we both, Jaden and myself, watched Man of Steel recently. So what do we think of Zack Snyder's DC films? Heidi, I honestly don't mind what you say, but like, what is your honest? Like, I won't
pointing a gun to her head right now.
I won't put it against you, I promise. But like, what were your like honest thoughts about Batman v Superman?
Let me just look at the script behind the camera that I'm reading while I'm being held hostage right now. Look, I think they're very, very epic in some bits, but I think he has some sections which didn't add to the movie, where I was sitting there, I was like, okay, like, this is nice, can we move on please, sort of thing. But definitely some very, very epic fight scenes, and music to go with it is fantastic, and he just ties it in really well, and some of the shots are beautiful. So it's hit and miss, but yeah.
Speaking of hit and miss, Man of Steel. You have not seen Man of Steel.
No.
But probably that's okay. Like, you don't really need to see Man of Steel to enjoy Justice League.
No,
but
definitely not.
Jaden, you're not a fan of Man of Steel, are you?
No, definitely not.
And why is that?
The story is just, it's so bland, like, it's so meh and so boring, and it hurts to watch. There's too much action. And I'm an action guy, so when I'm saying there's too much action, something's going on. I mean, comparing Zack Snyder's Justice League to Man of Steel, it's like the length between them is just ridiculous. Like, how can you make that and then make this? And have the same material? It's like,
it is a bit of a departure.
I know. It's weird.
I do agree. Like, Man of Steel, if I give my full attention to Man of Steel, it makes me sick, like literally, because of the shots and the cam work and the zoom ins that he does, and it's really quite. It's a live action Dragon Ball Z movie, as people have branded it as, but I enjoy it. I enjoy Man of Steel if I'm watching it half on, half off sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoy Batman v Superman, so I'm going to put that out there just for sake of clarifying my bias. I enjoy Batman v Superman. The Ultimate Edition.
The Ultimate Edition.
Yes,
We need to make that clear, because there's a big difference between them.
There is a big difference, right? And what did you think of? I know you enjoyed watching it, but I know you didn't think that the Ultimate Edition was cinema, as Martin Scorsese would say.
Cinema. It was definitely a vast improvement on the original. And I don't know, I feel like it's a grudge that I have with Zack Snyder. If he ends up stuffing up the theatrical edition, he's like, hey, give me another try.
Well,
and then everyone gives him another try, and then he does it right. So why can't he just get it right the first time? I don't know, it makes no sense to me.
What's beyond me is that he sits down, Warner Bros. Tell him to make a movie, and then he makes a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
Like, on what planet is that going to work? Because then Warner Bros. Say, we can't do that. We physically cannot show a movie that's 4 hours X many times in the cinema to get X amount of money. So you're going to have to drill it down, and then they just cut it out. Like, they don't change the story. They just cut out the good stuff, which is exactly what happened with Justice League. And then obviously they had, the reshoots and stuff. But yeah, I think Batman v Superman is definitely an improvement.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still, it's one of the most controversial films of all time, I think, in terms of, like, you either love it or you hate it. But I'm definitely in the love it camp for that. So I just wanted to note that before I say anything else.
Mm-hmm.
would you guys recommend this film to someone? So this film, Zack Snyder's Justice League, to someone who hasn't seen it. Perhaps they're like a fan of superheroes.
You go on, Heidi.
I feel like you'd have to have some sort of background into the DCEU because it's sort of like an endgame sort of situation. If you just go without knowing anything into watching Justice League, you won't be attached to the characters as other people would. So it's just that if you've seen it, like other DCEU movies, heck yeah, go and watch it. But no, if not, if you're keen to watch it, go and watch some stuff beforehand before going into it. Otherwise, you won't have that emotional attachment. So
yeah, I think that's well said. One thing I wanted to touch on is the thing that superhero movies do is a lot of them have this interconnectedness between them. And, you know, the MCU does it a lot, and, you know, we're seeing DCEU start to do it. And it's a bit of a grudge that I have with films because they start to want to connect everything together, and it kind of detracts from how good the film actually is. Like, it's not focusing on being its own thing. And then I think that's why, you know, probably some of the films at the start of the MCU are so good because they weren't connected to anything. You know, Iron Man, and then when they made Guardians of the Galaxy, that was like a whole other thing on its own. But when films start to rely on building this universe and having ties to every other film, it just starts to get a bit worrying.
WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision. I was going to say, it's just hard to watch, and, you know, I think cinema should be available to everyone. You shouldn't have to watch films prior to it to understand it. So, yeah, I think that's a bit of a grudge that I have with it, but because I've watched the films, I loved it. But if you haven't seen prior films, you're probably not going to like it as much. And in saying that, I think all you have to watch is Batman vs Superman to understand this film.
Definitely helped watching Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
In advance of this, whereas Man of Steel, if you watch Man of Steel, you probably like recognize, you know, the ships, the Kryptonian ships, and, you know, where he gets his suit from.
Yeah.
But that's about it, you know, in terms of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But Batman v Superman definitely is a must.
Yeah.
And that's 3 hours. So.
Well, I wouldn't say that you have to watch the Ultimate Edition. You could probably still watch the theatrical cut and understand it.
Yeah.
But the Ultimate Edition is better.
But essentially, if someone just said, by the way, Batman and Superman had a fight before this, and they're not good friends, and then you went into the movie, that's about all you need to know. Like, yeah, I agree with what everyone said there. Like, it's a movie that does stand on its own in some respects, but then in terms of being connected to Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman, definitely need a bit of, you know, backstory. And obviously, like, you won't know who Lex Luthor is. Yeah. And, like, Deathstroke's showing up and you're like, wait, who's this? You know, and so it helps. It's like the MCU movies, like watching Infinity War, for example, it helps to know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are, but the film will sort of, like, you know, you don't really need to know, but it helps.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the thing with Endgame. Imagine if the first MCU film you saw was Endgame. You'd be like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, Endgame's the worst example.
Yeah. You wouldn't have any clue what's going on.
Yeah.
So, is it better than the theatrical cut? Let's all just go around and quickly say yes. I'll say yes first to kick us off.
Is the Pope Catholic?
Yeah.
So, definitely an improvement. The 4-hour runtime will deter some viewers, though, I imagine. Because, like, it's 4 hours, and you have to be a pretty big fan in order to sit down for 4 hours.
But before we start, you know, bashing the runtime, I think if you feel that the runtime's too long, I would definitely recommend looking at the film and cutting it halfway when there's one of those chapters going on, because I think that would just, like, make you... It's essentially like 2 films. Yeah. You watch one this day, and then a few days later you watch the second half, which I think would work perfectly fine.
Yeah, it would. It is it's an epic... I was saying, like, when we were watching it, like, it felt like an epic TV show sort of thing that you could sort of, like, pause it at the end of the episode when it fades to black. But yeah, and in terms of staying still spoiler-free at the moment, do you guys want to see what happens next? Would you watch a sequel to this movie, Heidi?
I mean, the way they set it up at the end, I won't say anything in particular, but the way they set it up makes me curious to see what will happen. So yeah, I probably would watch the next one if there is going to be a next one.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, look, I think honestly, like, if I'm going to speak truthfully, I think I'm more excited for the DCEU right now than I am for Marvel. And it's never been that way, so it's quite surprising. But Marvel's just, like, took a complete wrong turn. And you're so excited right now.
I'm just watching Heidi's reaction because she's a Marvel sort of fan. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Marvel's just not that good right now. And DC's just... Zack Snyder's like our savior and he's coming back. Like
the Lord and Savior.
It's exciting what they're doing. I mean, I've always liked the DC characters more than Marvel characters, and I think they've got a lot more versatility with them, and the characters' backstories overall just have a lot more depth to them. Like if you compare Star-Lord with Batman, for example, like there's no competition there. And I know you could say like Iron Man and Batman, but yeah. I don't know.
So the MCU's done as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
like, it's sort of like, and Heidi, feel free to jump in and defend your cinematic universe. But as far as I'm concerned, as soon as Endgame was done, I'm like, okay, that was incredible. It was an awesome ride. That's one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had watching a film. Now let's move on. But they're just going to keep doing it, and it's like, they've run out of fuel in the car and they're just pushing it. Pushing it. And obviously all of the Marvel fanboys and girls are going along with it because, they love these characters.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like it's an advantage for Zack Snyder now that MCU's done. Because now there's a bit of pressure on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still going with, Spider-Man and stuff, but I don't see any real sense of direction for the MCU anymore because they're done.
I mean, they've still got like all of their big stories that they can do. Obviously, Infinity War was probably like one of the biggest, but they've also got like Secret Wars with all the Skrulls and stuff. I don't know. That's just not as exciting to me as Infinity War, and I know I haven't seen any of the content from that era yet, but it's just. It doesn't make me as excited as I am for DC right now.
Fair enough. Any comment from the Marvel fan in the room?
Okay, well, I'm excited for MCU coming up because I think it's bringing into the whole multiverse thing, and that's what I'm excited for. That's what I'm excited for, to see all of that happen.
Tom Holland.
It's like, okay, Tom Holland's a plus, alright? But you see, I think the view with the DCEU is they only got a second chance because of Zack Snyder. Before, if there was no Zack Snyder
they were screwed.
Yeah, they were screwed.
Yeah.
So without that,
I mean, they still are screwed.
Yeah.
They still are screwed until they announce.
It depends on what
movie.
Warner Bros. does.
Yeah.
It's in their court.
So like,
in their court.
at the moment, I think that if nothing is going to go on after Snyder Cut, I still think MCU is going to have more success.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
So I think,
yeah.
But like, I'm still excited for MCU. I'd like to see where they're going to actually push it. But So.
I mean, MCU, like, it's the most successful thing of all time. Like, in terms of movies ever. As much as Martin can, our boy Marty can, bash it.
Yeah.
It's something we've never seen before, and they actually did it, and they stuck the landing, and now it's now they can do whatever they want.
They've got a fresh ground. Like, they've had so many chances, and they just need to take advantage of this while they can. And if Warner Bros. Doesn't, then I'm sorry, they're so stupid for not taking the leap of faith here.
Yeah. And just in terms of the fan reception for this, I mean, this is going to be by far the highest fan-rated DC movie ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like there's a real passionate sort of fan base behind Zack Snyder, and if Warner Bros. Just say, well, that's it, that Snyder's done now, get ready for Flash, guys, and we're going to recast a few people, it's not going to be Snyderverse, people are just going to go, alright, I'll just watch the Snyder Cut again.
I'm curious what's going to go on with HBO Max and all of that, because obviously they picked up Zack Snyder to do this film and it's on their platform, and it's interesting because you're wondering whether they've signed a contract that entitles Zack Snyder to multiple films, Like, we wouldn't even know that yet. It might have already happened. And if so, the next film would also be on HBO Max. So that could have already happened and we wouldn't even know about it.
It's a lot of money though. Like, if you think this movie was done in 2016 and all they needed to do really was, you know, do the CGI for the shots that they didn't already do.
Yeah.
Whereas asking Zack Snyder to make another 4-hour sci-fi epic with all of those actors and actresses and the action and the CGI, like, all from the ground up, that's millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Whereas he only got 80 million for this, I think, and it was done, and they're going to make God
80 million?
Yeah.
To make all the reshoots
to touch
and
it
stuff.
up, yeah.
Wow.
The reshoots.
Jeez.
So, yeah, and this is going to make... I mean, this would have already made its money back in, like, the first hour. Or probably, like, since they first announced it, the HBO Max subscriptions probably went through the roof. But regardless, staying spoiler-free just quickly, can we get some opinions on the visuals, the music, and the acting? Jaden, what do you think of the visuals? Touch a bit on the music, and were there any acting performances that stood out for you?
Visuals, first of all, a very great improvement on the 2017 movie. I don't know. Have you seen the 2017 film? You have? Okay. Yeah. Just, I think I mentioned it while watching the film. The island Themyscira just looks like 10 times better. The scenery looks better. And even in Wonder Woman, I know that was a grudge review on the film. But all the characters, CG look really good as well. I mean, Cyborg looks incredible.
And
Steppenwolf looks great as well. His armor, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the design, but the CG looks really good. They nailed that. Darkseid looks really good. Oh God, is that a spoiler?
No, that's fine. He's in the trailer.
He's in the trailer. Okay. Yeah. What else was it? Music. Music was great as usual. The themes were all kind of tuned up.
Yeah.
A few octaves, which I think kind of worked. And the acting performances was surprisingly very, very good from a lot of them. Probably my standout was either Cyborg or Bruce Wayne as Batman. I think they were probably the two best. And also the Flash was also good, but he didn't have as much screen time. So I think either Batman or Cyborg were the best.
Yeah. Heidi, thoughts on the visuals, music, and acting?
I thought visuals were really cool. Like, the way Zack Snyder did just some of the shots, I haven't seen that sort of stuff happen before. So it was really, really sick. And, like, all the slow-mo used and stuff like that, that was awesome. It was just, like, really used, like, artistically. And he used it very, very well. Music, I thought... all of the themes were absolutely amazing, but some of the song choices in some sections, I was like, oh, this is a bit unique. Like, oh, it works, I guess, but I don't know, some of them I was a bit iffy about it. And then acting, most of it was pretty good. All of the main members of the Justice League were awesome. Again, I agree with Jaden. Cyborg was so good, so better in compared to the original.
His turnaround was insane.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, so much more depth, and like I felt more attached to him. But yeah, then there was some acting performances I felt that were very questionable. So we can get into that later.
Yeah, okay. There was some of the side characters, right? Some of the okay, fair enough. Visuals for me, lots of slow-mo in that first opening 20 minutes. Almost too much. I was thinking, like, okay, Snyder, you know, we get it. You like doing the slow-mo shot, but we don't need Lois Lane walking through a street in slow-mo. At least I don't think we do, but maybe we do. You know?
I mean, I didn't really even notice it until you picked it up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that might just be a thing that I like. A lot of slow-mo. Maybe I'm like Zack Snyder's long-lost child. Who knows? That would be good. Have a connection to Zack Snyder now.
We could have him on the podcast.
No, yeah, I think I kind of just hijacked your whole
that's all right.
argument here. But no, I kind of like the slow-mo.
Yeah. And I think of, like, shots like when the Flash goes through that window and the window smashes. It's like, I mean, obviously that's all CG, but it looks so cool.
It looks beautiful.
It looks so cool. And yeah, Snyder has a really nice sort of eye for detail, and the fact that he can make a football game look as cool, an American football game look so beautiful. You know, with that dim lighting, and obviously we have the monochrome tint, so we have the blue tint.
Yeah.
But it's lessened, I think.
Yeah.
It was less noticeable. I don't know if you noticed, Heidi, but there's like a sort of blue tint over most of Snyder's.
I mean, I didn't even notice it until you just said it then. Yeah. So if there was one, then I didn't notice it.
It was very tuned back. But yeah, I was watching I saw the trailer for Wonder Woman 2017, and the blue tint on that is just incredible. Like they turned it down for the actual release of the movie itself, really? But the trailer, it's like it's all blue. It's disgusting. Really? It's like, oh my god, like Snyder. You can tell because that's when Snyder had full control over things.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with Man of Steel. Man of Steel is a really blue film as well, bluey grey.
Yeah.
But is that seriously what it was like? The Wonder Woman trailer?
Oh yeah, no, honestly, it was too blue. I was like, because there is a blue tint in Wonder Woman, but it's like quite subtle.
Okay. They might have taken notice of it then. Yeah, everyone was like,
in the trailer,
get this fixed, yeah.
But yeah, music I thought was really, really good, very epic. You know, we'll talk about it a bit more when we talk about the music section, but brilliant stuff from Junkie XL. Obviously the Hans Zimmer theme's beautiful. Love Superman's theme as always.
Yep.
Acting, I agree with you guys. Ray Fisher was the best for me. I love Batman, but that's because, you know, he's Batman. But but obviously Ben Affleck's great. I think there's another really good performance in this movie that comes in a bit later on, but we'll talk about that later on. We'll go to spoilers then. I'm going to just run through all the cast members that I thought were stars.
Wait, are we entering
We're entering spoiler section, so if you've not seen Justice League, please leave.
No, Zack Snyder's Justice League. We have
Zack Snyder's Justice League. Well, I'm just going to, you know...
There's a difference between them. There's a big difference between them.
This is canon for me. Okay, so these are the stars of the movie. Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, Amy Adams, J.K. Simmons, Jesse Eisenberg, Jared Leto, Joe Manganiello, Willem Dafoe, Robin Wright. Those are just the stars. And but we've touched on the fact that Ray Fisher probably gives, you know, one of the standout performances. But were there any of the side characters that anyone particularly enjoyed? I could say Jared Leto. I'm a big fan of what he delivered in this film. Obviously, we're in the spoiler section now, so cover's sort of off. But I think his Joker was fantastic, and I want to talk about it a bit more later on. But
just through the chronological
I know, but
order out of the room.
I'm saying in terms of characters, Jared Leto did a great performance, and Ray Fisher. So are there any other standouts for you guys?
You go.
I don't know. To be honest, I think they all did very well in their respective roles. They played each of their characters well. No, like massive standouts for me. So.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons that Ray Fisher stood out so much is because they improved his story so much, so he was given the opportunity to deliver such a performance. But if you're wondering whether there was any significant acting performances outside of the main six or so in the Justice League,
six.
None of them really had any great performances that I can remember. They all just did their part, so they weren't necessarily bad. They just did what they were there to do.
Yeah. I liked Alfred in this movie. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah.
Alfred was good. Very, very funny as always. Very, you know, charismatic and smart. And yeah, you guys heard me say at the start, like, I was ready to dislike the Flash. I actually quite enjoyed Ezra Miller as the Flash. He's quite funny, but you know, but he didn't overdo it. I think he might have overdone it in the old Justice League, because I remember because I think that was the notion that I had, like, I didn't like him before, so I don't think I'm going to like him now.
Well, I think that's what Joss Whedon did with the 2017 version. He was like, okay, this movie is an abomination, and I know that. I'm going to try to chuck in as much humor as possible.
To try make it, you know, bad fun sort of thing.
And Ezra Miller's Flash is going to be that sort of carrier of the humor.
Yeah, comedic relief.
Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah, because he's a bit younger. You know, he's a younger sort of Flash, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel like you worked really well in this story. We begin with the events of Batman v Superman, and I just want to say, like, as a fan of Batman v Superman, it's cool to see that this movie's actually a sequel to that. Because the 2017 version, I feel like, while obviously like Superman starts off dead and he comes back, there was no other sort of reference to the fact that Batman and Superman were trying to kill each other in the previous film, and you know, all of that sort of bad blood there, and Lois Lane and all of that. So for about like half of this movie, Superman was out.
Yeah.
You know, and we really got to feel the impact of Superman's death. And that's one of my criticisms I had with Batman v Superman originally, was because I was feeling like, you're going to kill him, but he shows up in the first like half an hour of the next film. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Whereas now when I watch Batman v Superman, it's going to be like, Superman's dead, and it's got more of an impact. You know?
Yeah.
But Heidi, I know like you watched Batman v Superman recently, and so were you able to like pick up on, you know, the fact that it was a sequel, the fact that, you know, there were certain events that led in to this film?
Yeah, I think it tied on really well. Like, watching Batman v Superman recently, and it sort of just almost flowed straight into the Snyder Cut, like through the use of those scenes from Batman v Superman, and it's almost like the timeline just picked up like really quickly. So that was really seamless, and I think it was done really well.
It was like Lord of the Rings, because you know how Lord of the Rings picks up right where the other one left off, Jaden?
Yeah.
That's my first.
Be careful.
That'll be that's the first but not the last comparison to Lord of the Rings from this movie.
There is a vast difference between the films, so let's get that straight. I mean, one got nominated for like 13 Oscars. This one has 0 Oscars.
It's as good as Lord of the Rings. What can I say? Jaden, any thoughts from the opening of the film, or any thoughts that you wanted? I know Heidi has some questions you might want to throw at us to get some conversation going, but
I'm just trying to remember what happened at the start.
it's hard because so much does happen.
I know.
And I was trying to think like what sort of order of the events go, because we're going in between so many different locations and characters that I feel like almost a bit of a criticism of the film is that we're in Themyscira 1 minute in modern day. The next minute we're in Atlantis, the next minute Lois Lane apartment, then back to Themyscira but in the history lesson. Like, it's just
It's Nolan.
it's going all around all over the place.
Nolan's like, I need to fiddle with the timeline. I'm producing the film.
Yeah, so I feel like that might have been a criticism, like, just to, sometimes I felt like it was jarring, you know, we go from like Steppenwolf invading Atlantis to like Lois Lane making coffee. It's like,
It's
an
interesting
odd
you say that, because I felt like how they balanced all the characters' stories is probably done really well.
probably done the best they could have.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I feel like that was kind of a good way to do it. And using the coffee example, I think going from such a harsh environment to a calm environment is a really good filmmaking technique, because it lets you to kind of get excited for this part, like climax. And then, you know, the next second it's kind of like more calm and soothing, which I think is quite clever.
Okay, I'm going to start a conversation about the villains. Villains are the hardest parts about superhero movies. You've said this before.
Yep.
What did we think of the big bad Steppenwolf, from his design to his motivations? I don't know if you guys fully picked up on his motivations, you know, the backstory there, but how he looked, how he sounded, everything. Like, what was our thoughts? Heidi, what did you think?
I want to know his gym routine to get that hourglass figure. Like, he's a dummy thick.
Steppenwolf.
He looks like a reindeer. He looks like a reindeer. Like, what's going on?
He looks like a hammerhead shark.
Yes,
That's what he looks like.
fantastic. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't know what he is, some sort of alien, but he looks pretty cool. Obviously, like, how he's shaped is like his actual body, and then he has just like this armor that's like alive.
Yeah.
We saw, you know, when he was attacking Themyscira, and you know, it caught the arrows and then it cut the arrows.
He just kind of like flexed, and they were all like, boom.
Yeah. So cool. Anyway, I thought Steppenwolf was an awesome part of this movie.
Yeah.
Really good villain.
Very good villain, yeah.
But I think his motivations were that I think he betrayed Darkseid previously in his life. And he's now in debt to Darkseid.
50,000 worlds.
50,000, that's a lot of worlds.
I want to know how he betrayed him to have that much of like a debt to Darkseid.
Mm.
Like,
That's actually interesting you say that.
yeah.
Yeah. What on earth could have you done?
That was that bad.
Maybe we'll have to ask Zack Snyder in a commentary or something.
I think we'll eventually get the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's dead now. Like we're in the spoiler section.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he's dead. So we're not gonna, it's not like Darkseid's gonna be like, oh, remember when?
No, but I mean, Nolan produces these films, remember? So we're gonna get some sort of a flashback.
But I think Steppenwolf's out of it now. I think he served his purpose as being like the bad guy for this movie. Like for the next movie, I think it's just gonna be Darkseid and his sidekicks.
You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like Loki and Thanos in terms of
That's a good
Steppenwolf
comparison.
and Darkseid.
Yeah.
And I know, he is a god, but he's kind of human. So it's kind of a weird comparison when you're comparing him to Steppenwolf, who's some sort of hammerhead fusion of something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because one's kind of like the servant of the other, and then they're kind of on the edge. You know how Loki's always like, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm good, I'm here now. But yeah, I kind of picked up on that, how they're very, very similar in same aspects.
I don't know about you guys, but I definitely got Darth Vader, Palpatine vibes. When Steppenwolf was like, he was all all scary and badass until like his boss walked in the room, and then he's like, oh, master. He gets down on one knee, and you're like, Darth Vader's bowing to someone? Like, geez, this guy must be powerful.
Yeah.
And the fact 50,000 worlds of debt, like,
Yeah.
I want to find out what he did.
Yeah.
Now you're
Like,
interested.
did he have an affair with like Darkseid's wife or something? Like 50,000 worlds. I don't know. What could he have done? Like, what do you think? Like, maybe like he killed someone close to Darkseid.
I'm thinking like he might have, I don't know, stolen a mother box or
Maybe tried to beam Dark. Like maybe tried to overthrow
him.
Darkseid.
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Because I feel like at one stage you said when we were watching the film, like he's imagining himself to be Darkseid. When he came down.
Yeah.
And he was like doing the exact
Yeah,
same
well,
thing.
I don't even know what was happening there.
Yeah, that was when he was like discovering Steppenwolf came down. He was discovering the anti-life equation in the world, and he was like,
so that was modern day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like doing the exact same thing as Darkseid. Like he was like this, I'm Darkseid now. I'm, punching above his pay grade, and Darkseid's like, no. But I really enjoyed Steppenwolf. Darkseid will be cool. We didn't see a lot of him, but
You want to hear something interesting? So obviously, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier releases in 6 hours and 4 minutes.
oh, does it?
Yeah.
This film is twice the length of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The entire series.
Really?
Yeah. 6 episodes. They're probably going to be 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 hours.
Well,
Yeah. Well, 2 hours. 4 hours is double.
yeah, that's kind of insane.
I just thought of that. I was like,
There's so much content in here. Like all of these fans that have been like campaigning for literally 4 years. Of like probably like log onto Twitter every day, do your hashtag. But, like it's more than that.
Snyder Cut.
It's more than that. Like they were putting up billboards and they were doing fundraisers for American suicide prevention and just all of this campaigning that they were doing. And then you had like the actors, like Ben Affleck tweeted out, release the Snyder Cut, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this actually might happen.
Did he do that?
Yeah. And then,
wow.
Then because the actors themselves, like, they would have seen their movie and been like, hang on, I filmed a better movie than this. What happened to the movie that I was in?
Yeah. I mean, fair enough.
And Gal Gadot tweeted it out, and then, obviously the big man himself, Zack Snyder, came down and he's like, the cut exists.
And then he released it.
Yeah.
I feel like it came really quick. Like, he was like, okay, I'm making it. Boom. We're watching it.
Yeah.
Really quick.
Because the cut was done, but like they just need to do the CG, and then obviously you'd be like, call upon like hundreds of, interns doing the CGI.
Yeah.
And Zack Snyder just tell them what to do, I guess, and editing, putting it together and stuff.
Technology.
But it was already technology. It was all like done, so they just needed to like put the finishing touches on it essentially, which is why it was such a good deal for HBO Max, because it was not a lot of money for.
Oh my god, that was such a smart move by them. Yeah.
It's going to be HBO Max's like Mandalorian for Disney Plus, or like House of Cards for Netflix. It's like their big draw. But yeah, Heidi, I know you have a couple of questions. Do you want to throw them in? We can get a conversation going about any of the events that happen in the film.
Well, you were saying you were just talking about villains, so I know Jaden is really interested in and really likes Heath Ledger as Joker. So, if you see more of Jared Leto's Joker in the way that it was depicted in like the nightmare scene at the very end, or in the future prediction or whatever it was, do you think it'll be better than either Heath Ledger's Joker or Joaquin Phoenix's Joker?
Definitely not Heath Ledger's Joker. Maybe a bit of bias, but can you blame me? Maybe Joaquin's. It's interesting you say that. I feel like Joaquin's is more. It's definitely a more grounded interpretation, and he's done a lot. I was about to say a lot less serious things, but he did, kill like 3 people. Probably even more.
Did kill someone live on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels more simplified.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like that's what Joker is. It's a very simple narrative. Whereas if you compare that to a DCEU film, there's a lot of action in DCEU films, so they're essentially on different ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I think Jared Leto's Joker is just the improvement is just insane when you look at it. I mean, comparing the Suicide Squad, it's like he was such a bad character in that film.
Yeah.
And then he definitely took the opportunity to like give his best acting performance because he knew that everyone was like, oh my god, this is like the worst Joker. And he's like, okay, I'm going to prove you all
wrong. And he's a damn good actor. Like, he's really good in
100%. Yeah, he's one of the best actors of our
Dallas
generation.
Buyers Club.
Yeah, exactly, right? He has like the ropes to be able to pull off such a character. And man, it was just phenomenal. Like, holy moly, that character was insane.
We were talking through most of the film, or perhaps, I was every now and then we'd say like, oh crap, like.
I feel like I was watching like a director's commentary.
Yeah, we were like, I was talking through a lot of it, and every now and then, someone would pop up on screen and we go, oh my god, yeah. But as soon as those two, like Batman and Joker, were on screen together, it was just silence, like listening to every single word, because the history there, obviously, like we'd never seen this in the DC.
We've never seen this before. Yeah. Ever.
But like we've never seen like Joker kill Robin. No. And then Batman
probably we should say in live action.
Oh, in live action, yeah. Of course, yeah. Because it's a big storyline in the comics. But Heidi, you probably like wouldn't have known this. I may have told you previously, but like in Batman v Superman, like we see like Robin's costume. Like we would have seen that.
Yep.
And
do we?
Yeah, it's in the Batcave. Oh. It says, haha, joke's on you, Batman.
Yeah, it's spray painted on the costume.
You'll recognise it once you see it. But it's like, it's a dark sort of like Batman-esque costume with yellow graffiti on it. And so it's like Joker killed Robin. That's what, Snyder said. And Snyder was like, he wants to, do a flashback so we can see this happen, at some point in the future, get like a retelling of the story where we actually see it happen. But for now, like this Bruce Wayne, like he was a pretty bad guy in Batman v Superman, as we can all probably agree. He was killing people. He was killing people. Like, I don't care what Zack Snyder says, like, because on the director's commentary, like, all those cars that blew up, Zack Snyder was like, they're okay, like, we just didn't show them falling out of the car. I'm like, Snyder, I'm sorry, like, maybe you can say that, but personally, like, if you blow up a car and then run into it with your Batmobile,
they're dead.
Yeah.
They're dead.
And then like you shoot someone's flamethrower and then they explode. Yeah. And Snyder's like he didn't talk about that.
He was like contracted by Warner Bros to say that they're okay, like, because it's like, Snyder, you have to say this.
Yeah, because it's like, because it originally released as like a PG film. But in terms of the nightmare scenario, so like set in the future where like Batman's lost his marbles. He's killing people left, right, center, as we saw in the Batman v Superman nightmare sequence, and then we have this Joker who's killed that guy's like adopted son, and now he's rubbing it in his face, and this dude is he doesn't want to be messed with, and this is the dynamic there. I think was incredible.
Oh yeah.
I saw somebody say on Twitter, best Batman and Joker interaction yet. What do you think of that? Because I think the only other one that might be as good is the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anything from The Dark Knight, in my opinion, is just overthrown. So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I shouldn't even comment on this, but I mean, there's like a number of things. I mean, the whole hit me scene from The Dark Knight, he's
that's
driving towards him. I think that was really good. But no, I think this was really, really good, and I'm excited to see the dynamic that they bring, and I'm begging for a film between them, like Joker and Batman, or the Prince of Gotham and I don't know, the Dark Knight or something. I feel like I need a film between them because I want to see more of Jared Leto's Joker, and the stuff that he does with Batman in 5 minutes has just made me so excited for what they can bring in the future.
And the fact that they weren't even in the same room when they filmed it because of COVID.
And they did that, right? Yeah.
So like you have Jared Leto with Zack Snyder like this close to him, like on his shoulder with the camera in his face, and Jared Leto's just like staring at nothing.
Yeah.
And they have that sort of chemistry, and they're not even on screen. Like talk about on screen chemistry.
That's acting, man.
They're not in the same room. But yeah, so I agree. Would really like to see that. Heidi, do you have any thoughts about Jared Leto's Joker?
I thought it was really, it was just like a massive difference between Suicide Squad and this, like completely different character, as what both of you were saying. But the one thing is, I don't know what to think about the laugh that he does.
The cackle. It's more like
it's
very
know.
high. It's like a hyena sort of laugh.
Yeah, it's like, it's nuts, which probably suits it. But like, I don't know. I think I'm not too keen on it, but that's just my personal opinion thing. But what do you guys think?
You go first.
It was like it's very high, isn't it? Like it's more like
I was going to attempt it, but I don't want to I don't want to destroy my reputation.
I'm not that. Yeah, my voice isn't that high enough, I think. But it's a cackle because when we put the subtitles on, because we wanted to get all the dialogue from that scene, it's like Joker cackles. It's like it's not like Joaquin's laugh where he's like
struggling.
Where he's actually like full on laughing, but like he's holding it back. But Jared Leto's one has the same sort of like there's some sort of restraint that he's doing on his voice where it's like very soft.
It kind of comes in like burst. It's kind of like, I'm not going to attempt it, but it's like he kind of waits and then he goes and then he waits and then he goes.
Yeah.
It's interesting to say the least, and I feel like every Joker has delivered a different interpretation of the laugh.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And I mean, Heath Ledger's is definitely my favorite because it's so simplified, and like we had never seen anything like it before. It's just like a regular person's laugh. Like he just walks in the room, he's like, ha ha ha. It's just so normal. But another like Joaquin's laugh as well was studied so much, and obviously it kind of came from an actual medical condition, so it's an actual thing. I mean, I didn't really have any grudges with Leto's, but I do remember having a pretty big problem with the one from 2016.
Suicide Squad?
Yeah. Which was pretty horrific. Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone's going to like try too hard, and like, I think that was the Suicide Squad problem. Like, I feel like the Joker was sort of like just trying too hard.
Yeah.
And it just like came off that he was trying too hard.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic actor. He's really good at doing a psychopath.
Yeah.
We've seen him do that in Blade Runner. But yeah, so I think if anyone's going to do a laugh that's like almost overperformed, it's going to be Jared Leto. Like, I just feel like, but yeah, I thought it was quite unsettling. So it worked for me.
It worked
for me. Yeah. Any other questions you have?
Well, I'm going to put you guys on a negative because the entire movie you were just fangirling and I just had to sit there and listen. But was there anything that you felt didn't add to the movie at all?
So something that could have been cut, for example. Yeah. Try to get that incredibly long runtime down. Martian Manhunter for me.
What?
Let me rephrase. Let me clarify my point, sorry.
You better be very careful what you say here.
The scene where Martha Kent goes to talk to Lois Lane, and she's like, "You need to go back to work." So obviously, like Lois Lane's on like grief whatever, leave or whatever, and she's having a break from work, doesn't want to go back. And Martha's like, you have to go back, and it's a really nice scene, and then she leaves, steps out of the door, then she morphs into Martian Manhunter for a second, and then morphs back into the General, and it's like, that's a scene that should have just been Martha Kent. Like, it was odd for me to get like the big reveal of Martian Manhunter, like outside her door when no one's watching, just like changes into his alien form for some reason. Like, why did he do that?
It's kind of like the whole Solo thing where it's like, did Maul really need to ignite his lightsaber at the end there?
Okay.
Did they have to do
It's
it that
for
way?
the audience.
Yeah, it's definitely like visual exposition. It's kind of like, hey, here's Martian Manhunter. That's the only way we could do it.
Yeah, I feel like that scene should have just been Martha Kent, because I feel like the Martian Manhunter reveal at the end was awesome. Like when he came down, you know, and he's explaining who he is.
I reckon they should have just
They should have just done that.
yeah. And that was the first time I've seen him.
Yeah,
Which I think
that was cool, because it was odd seeing him at in the middle of the film, and then you're like, where did he go?
Yeah.
Like, what? He's not going to help. He's not going to help the Justice League. Like, it makes me think that Zack Snyder was like, how about I chuck Martian Manhunter in here because he's CGI. So
Yeah.
And Harry Lennox, who plays him, was like confirmed to be Martian Manhunter the entire time.
Yeah, well, he was in Man of Steel
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
yeah. So he has been like Martian Manhunter. It has been in all of the films, but it's just odd that he reveals himself at the end, and he's like, "If you need me in the next movie, I'll be here."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
where were you before, mate?
Yeah, it's kind of like a...
He nuked
whole-
Superman, remember?
Yeah, it's like a Captain Marvel situation where it's like, why didn't Captain Marvel help in the whole New York attack? Why didn't she help in Infinity War? She was off-world.
Yeah,
like,
she was doing stuff, saving other people. There are more planets, you know.
yeah, it's a very lazy way to explain things, and I think it could have been solved so much better by just introducing him at a later point in the film, which is obviously what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, but he looks so cool though, like so cool. Like he's one of my favorite characters from the cartoon show that I used to watch as a kid, and just seeing him in live action was really cool. But it was weird being the first time I saw him being in a doorway.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, yeah, come on, he deserves a bit better than that. You know, he deserves to come down from the sky like a god. Zack Snyder loves a good god imagery. Like, did you guys catch the Jesus imagery when Superman went up and he was like with the sun? He was like bathing in the sun.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, above the universe.
Zack Snyder has a hard on for making Superman like a god or a Jesus character.
That was one of the grudges that I had with Batman vs Superman. Is Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor just felt like a mouth to talk about gods and devils and Jesus and all of that. And I said this in my review on Letterboxd, is that every single line he delivered was something about Jesus or gods.
Yeah.
And it gets so overbearing at times, because it's like, talk about something else. You're a bad guy. Stop talking about this and talk about that. And this kind of carried over into Zack Snyder's Justice League a bit, where it was like the whole Darkseid's kind of like Satan, you know, Batman's kind of, Superman's kind of like, he's kind of godlike, and how they went into that sort of thing. And it's an okay way to go with the whole universe, because I think it is quite well done. However, at times they probably overdo it too much.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Any other scenes that you thought, or Heidi, maybe you have anything that you think like could have been left out of the film?
A lot of the conversations between them, I feel like, could have been cut.
Some of them went on a bit too long.
Like there was, I remember there being one scene where they were in the ship talking about their plan, and then they cut to, it might have been like a history lesson, and then cut back to it, and it was like, oh, they're still doing this. Like, cut to something else, give us more.
Yeah.
But they were still hung on that sort of part.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Look, I just don't like Lois Lane, so I could see less of her and I'd be happy.
I'm glad Heidi's saying it, not us.
Yeah, we now have a female to talk about that.
Yeah, no, just less of Lois Lane, please, and thank you. That's all I have to say.
All right. Fair enough. No, the scene for me that I feel like was the worst scene in the film was when they were all standing around the Justice League. They're all standing around in like the Bat Cave or whatever, and they were just talking about how to revive Superman. And it was like this shot that was just like going around, and you could see like all different members of the team. But because of the aspect ratio, which we haven't talked about yet, but we should, the aspect ratio in this film, it's more vertical than horizontal. If it was horizontal, you might be able to see more of the team as you circle around. But because it's a square, you can only see about half of a face at a time. So you're like, all right, there's Flash's nose. All right, there's Cyborg's eyebrow coming up there. Like, it's like, and then the camera just kept on going around, and I'm like, this is gonna like, spin me to sleep. Yeah. Because it's just, they're just talking. They're like, how are we gonna bring back Superman? And and they're just going around and around and around. And it's like, show us something.
Yeah, I definitely think at times the film could have benefited from a full screen ratio. But at the same time, like I found myself just kind of getting immersed in the film that I kind of forgot about the whole aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing with what Nolan does with his whole IMAX sort of thing. Jumps back and forth, and at times like you just kind of zone out and forget about it, and then boom, it comes back, and you're like, oh yeah, that's still a thing. I mean, you're sitting there for 4 hours watching some box on the screen, and it's kind of like, make it bigger. Why not make it bigger?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he will at one stage. But Heidi, did you find the aspect ratio? How did you find that?
I probably just have to echo what Jaden said, because I think at some points, like, it didn't really matter because I was just invested in what was happening. But then I would notice, like, I'd be thinking, oh yeah, this is an amazing shot, but what if they could just extend that screen a little bit, and you would have been able to see so much more, and it would have been so beautiful and so aesthetically pleasing. So yeah, I didn't mind it at times, and then sometimes I just didn't notice it at all. But yeah, pretty much the same as what Jaden was saying.
It's good when you have like one character, like for example, like when you have a Batman shot where he's like on like a crane or something, and it's just Batman. It's like, it looks great because you can see like the bottom of him to the top, and then you see the sky, and there's stuff below him, and it's really cool.
He's kind of like perfectly centered in the frame. Whereas if you had like an IMAX shot, he's a lot smaller, so you've got so much more to look at. But if it's in this sort of I don't know, square, whatever you call it, kind of view, you can focus on it more. But at times it also kind of detracts from group shots.
Yeah, and then when you have all of the teams together, like that's a perfect, rectangle shot there.
Yeah.
But then he had to take the camera on an angle to the side to get all of them in. But any other questions that might provoke a bit of conversation?
Just an interesting one. I don't know whether it's been confirmed in the comics or not, but in your opinion, who would win in a race, Superman or the Flash?
It might have actually been proved in the comics, and I think it has. And I think the Flash won.
It would make sense for the Flash to win because of the time, the fact that he can go back in time. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But then we saw Superman can.
He's also very speedy as well.
Very fast.
But it's been confirmed in like interpretations like Smallville and such that the Flash is faster, and I mean it's his goddamn superpower. So of course he would be, or I would hope he would be.
Fastest man alive.
Yeah, I mean that's his name, right? But then you've also got like Eobard Thawne, Savitar, Dark Flash, all of those sort of characters that come and rival the Flash, and it's like, well, the Flash isn't the fastest because all of these guys are faster. But in terms of who would win in a race, I'd probably have to say the Flash. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
You'd hope so. Otherwise, the problem with Superman is that he's too good at everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's been an issue with the comics, and they've sort of raised that, is that they made Superman too OP.
Yeah.
But
you just need to get kryptonite involved somehow.
Yeah.
I will say, a thought just occurred to me. I wanted to say that the brutality of this film was fantastic.
Yes.
Like you have Steppenwolf cutting Themyscirans in half, and then you have Wonder Woman decapitating him at the end, and Aquaman stabbing him with a trident from behind, and there's blood going everywhere. brilliant. I mean, you never would have got that if it were released in cinemas because Warner Bros. Would have told them to make it PG.
Exactly,
It's rated R in America, which means...
rated R in America?
Which means M for us, which means normal M. So it's,
Wait,
it's blue M
I
for
thought
us.
it'd be MA15.
No, I don't think so. I think R is a lower sort of standard in the US, but there's nothing above R. So like R is like the maximum you can go in the US.
Yeah, so you'd had films like The Human Centipede mixed with Zack Snyder's Justice League on the same...
Yeah, I think so. That's the only way that I think it... Because Joker is R in America, but it's MA here. And then Batman v Superman is R in the Ultimate Edition, and then that's M here. So it's like, America has a...
They need to get their stuff together.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. Australia knows where it's at with their restrictions. Come on.
No,
but I love the blood in this movie.
It was so good, right? And, Zack Snyder had, like, unlimited creativity to do what he wanted.
CGI blood
You
everywhere.
can tell he was just like, stuff you want, bro. I'm going to cut off their heads. I'm going to do this.
I'm going to make your flashy, 80s hero Wonder Woman cut off someone's
Exactly,
head.
right? I'm going to give Superman, I'm going to give Batman 2 F-bombs. Like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If you say no, stuff you.
Yeah.
HBO Max is going to pick it up.
How did you find it, Heidi, from, someone who really likes the MCU movies, which are, it's hard to ever see. Can you ever see blood in MCU movies?
Never. It's so rainbow.
Rainbow.
It's so, like, happiness and...
Yeah. Anyway,
No, I thought it was really cool. He pulled it off really well as well. Like, put so much thought into it. Like, I remember we were watching the underwater sequence where Steppenwolf was down there, and even like when he was attacking things in the water, blood would just like spurts everywhere.
Yeah, like a shark attack.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was really good. And then there was one point where he just like threw. It was back up on land, and he threw one of the Atlantean people against a rock, and it's just like this splatter and like pooling. I'm like, yo, this is cool. Like, and then when Aquaman just like absolutely skewered Steppenwolf like a chicken on a stick or something, it's just like
shish kebab.
Yeah, shish kebab, exactly. And it's just like blood spurting everywhere, and it was cool. It was cool to see that sort of stuff. It's realistic, so.
Yeah, my favourite shot's when in Themyscira where there's one of them riding on a horse, and it's in the trailer. It's a shot in the trailer, and he just takes his axe and he just goes bang, like just knocks the Themyscira like right off.
And the horse
and
like a front flip.
Yeah, and you see like the blood just goes like there's like a slice of blood. It's like, oh gosh, don't want to mess with this guy. Like the brutality in this film makes the villain better because like imagine if Thanos was going around like decapitating people.
Exactly right.
And like we don't see it in like the MCU. Like obviously he's committing genocide, like on a daily basis. Like he's killing hundreds of millions of people. But like the fact that Steppenwolf, that we see him like come out of the water like he's a shark and like tear.
Maybe he is a hammerhead shark. He comes out of the water.
Maybe.
It's a good theory.
I mean, it
because
was never
breathing
addressed.
underwater, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It was never addressed how he breathed underwater.
Yeah.
So it could be a possibility.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Also, I want to talk about. There's 2 nightmare sequences in this. Obviously, we have like the one at the end, but then Cyborg has a vision like about halfway in the film.
Yep.
And we see a few things. One is that Wonder Woman is dead.
Oh yeah.
2 is that Aquaman is dead. 3 is that Superman has a burnt corpse in his lap, which we can only assume is his beloved Lois Lane.
Heidi's like,
Yes.
And
Cheering.
yeah, and he's like crying, and then Darkseid comes and puts his hand on his shoulder, and you can see Superman sort of like he comes back up. He's like he's been rejuvenated or something. So yeah, what did we think of that tease? It's like what to come essentially.
seems like, ooh, I'm really excited.
We want restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse.
Yeah, it's definitely, as clear as day that it's a setup for future films if they ever intend on doing that. Really interesting stuff, I think. I think turning Superman evil in terms of, Lois dying and then he kind of just turns to the dark side. Star Wars terms. No, I think it's an interesting sort of dynamic, and you don't really see it a lot in terms of superhero films. Like, where would you ever see Iron Man going bad? You never see that happen because he's so so happy and he's so good. But I mean, you'd think the same of Superman, but he's so fragile at the same time. Like he's a god, but he can be turned to the dark side so easily. And I really hope they kind of just delve headfirst into that when they make future sort of installments of the film, because I think that's a really interesting way to go.
I thought it was really cool that they did it, but I'm also thinking, or like asking myself, should Snyder have done that? Because then it's setting up the fans for most likely disappointment when Warner Bros. Don't go ahead and continue with those movies. So there'll be like all of these like things that you were looking forward to that are just never gonna happen. Like, the Amazing Spider-Man 3. That was a blessing that didn't happen, but anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't think, like, Snyder's not the sort of guy who'd be like, you know what, Warner Bros, you win.
Yeah,
like,
no.
This guy will go, balls to the wall. He'll you can tell, like, the extra scene that he did was the nightmare scene. The things that he wanted to add in was the tease for the next scene. Like, he's clearly saying, Warner Bros, where's your brain at?
He's kind of like twisting the hand behind the back. He's like, okay, you got to do it now. It's happening. It's your fault if you don't pick it up and the fans don't get what they want. And from the start, Snyder said, hey, I'm releasing what I visually intended the first time around. I'm tweaking a few things. But this is what I was going to do the first time. So, and there should have been future films spurred off of that. So this is what's happening. It's your job now.
It's like, it is the movie that he intended, and obviously if we never had the Joss Whedon version in an alternate timeline, then this would have been the movie that we got. I mean, to be fair, this would not have been the movie that we got, because we got a 2.5 hour movie of this, and it would have been probably quite bad. Like, it would have been not good, and then there would have been ultimate cut. So it's almost a blessing in disguise that this went on to streaming, because we were able to get the full 4 hours.
Yeah.
But Zack Snyder, man, like, you need to tell Warner Bros, like, it's either Zack's fault or Warner Bros' fault, because if Warner Bros say, Zack Snyder, make us a movie, do whatever you want, and then he makes a 4 hour movie, that's Warner Bros' fault.
Yeah.
But then if Warner Bros says, Zack Snyder, we need a 2.5 hour max movie, and then he goes and makes a 4 hour movie, like, not 3, 4.
Yeah.
Then, like, what are you doing? Like, you make 2.5 hour movies.
Yeah.
In what world, like, if you want to split it up into parts, sure, but, like, there's no part where you can cut this off, like in Infinity War and Endgame, and be like, okay, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I feel like, in a way, I think cinema is transitioning to this new format of having streaming services and putting the content on there. And I think it works better for this type of film in the sense that it's so long that you can pause it and go back to it whenever you want.
The chapters help too.
Chapters do help. But if I was to watch this film in the cinema, it's kind of like, it'd be so hard to sit there for 4 hours without missing a single second of it, and, going to get food and get water and such. And I feel like a 4 hour film for me personally is just way too long. Like, it's just been stretched out to the point where it's like, this is like the most epic film ever, we need to mash all of this in here. But you can make it a really good film by just also doing the same things and decreasing the time on it. But I feel like it was probably stretched out a lot.
Do you have any thoughts about timeline of the movie?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said earlier, there was probably some things in there that didn't need to be in there, but I think the way that he did the parts spread it out really well. I didn't feel like it dragged too much, but I still think that 4 hours is probably stretching it a bit, but he was able to pull it off somewhat because of what he did throw those like part section things. If he didn't do that, then I probably would have fell asleep like an hour afterwards.
I think it was quite clever with the whole thing with the chapters and such, and I think the pacing was probably one of my positives from the film. He did that quite well, and he's had 8 years to make that. I mean, how long has he been making the Justice League for?
Oh, I mean,
Probably 2015?
5 years.
6 years?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah. He's had quite a lot of time to think about it, so in his right, he should have been able to pull it off, which he did.
Yeah.
I think Snyder wants Lord of the Rings rights. He wants rights to put a 3.5 hour movie in theaters. And I'm sorry, Zach, maybe now, but no, I don't think so. Not yet.
I think Amazon has the rights to it because I think they're making a series on it. So.
No, I mean like the right to put a 4 hour movie.
Oh,
into
is that what
cinema.
you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the sort of. No, I'm not saying Zack Snyder should make a Lord of the Rings remake or something.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I think that would be rubbish.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like, the only movies that are over 3 hours that go into cinema are the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
So you have like the Titanic, but that's like 3 hours done.
Yeah.
And something like Avatar and stuff, that's like 3 and a bit, and The Irishman 3.5. But to go to 4 is a big sort of step.
I know.
So I feel like Zack Snyder, the next 2 movies he envisioned were 2 parts. So part 1, part 2. So perhaps it would have been like this, but then he cut off nicely halfway.
Yeah, I mean, and what's to say that the next films aren't going to be even longer than this? I mean,
I'm here for it, bro.
I know you're here for it, but they're definitely going to be a larger scale films.
Yeah,
There's no
sure.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, bigger villain, bigger consequences. Superman's going to turn evil.
Yeah.
It should definitely be a longer film.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm prepared to sit there for more than 4 hours and watch a film. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any other questions?
Well, will you guys have any?
Anyone that surprised you from this movie? Anyone that you thought came out of nowhere, sort of perhaps like you didn't think they were a cool character before, but now you're like, oh, they're actually pretty neat. Or any redemption arcs, any people that was. I think Batman has a good redemption in this.
Mm-hmm.
He was sort of like a joke in Joss Whedon's one.
Yeah.
But people need to start flying Batman around, guys.
His transportation methods aren't the best.
Yeah.
We've just been running to the thing like, just wait up, guys.
That had to be what was happening. He had to be
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
Or grappling every now and then like Spider-Man or something. But
Yeah.
someone needs to carry Batman. The guys need to figure this out. But any redemption sort of characters for you that you thought weren't the coolest before, but you enjoyed in the film?
Heidi.
I don't know, I'm thinking.
Okay, I'll go. I think we've already touched on it. I definitely think Ray Fisher as Cyborg was probably the biggest turnaround, which is just insane. I mean, he was just an absolute joke in the first film, and me personally, I was also like, when I walked out of the film, I was like, oh, Cyborg was just completely useless. What a rubbish character. And in this film, he's like a completely different person. He's been treated so much differently, and he's finally got what he deserves. You get what you get. It's very it's very, I'm gonna say refreshing, but it's very satisfactory that he got what he deserved from the first film. And probably also, The Flash, Ezra Miller. I know you, Sam, and also me in the Justice League. I'm not sure about you, Heidi, but a lot of his humor was just hit or miss, and he was kind of a comedic relief. But it just seems they did him so much differently, but they used the same material, they used the same jokes in this film, and it just worked completely differently. I quite liked him in the film as well.
Yeah.
Any character?
I'd probably say the same. I mean, I haven't seen Shazam, so I didn't really know what Flash was going to be like, other than in the Justice League.
Shazam's with a different character.
Is it a different character?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Yeah, Shazam's not in the Snyderverse anyway. Shazam never happened.
Well done for me.
He does have a lightning bolt on his chest though,
I
can see the confusion.
Yeah. Okay, well that's
He does
cool.
have a red suit, so...
I mean, that is true.
Red with a lightning bolt.
Well,
That's
I'm just
true.
going to have to stick to Marvel, I think. Okay.
DC's in.
Well,
DC's
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
though, because Snyderverse, all you need is Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and maybe Suicide Squad, if you feel so inclined. It's canon.
It's that's pushing it. But
The gay post Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
wrong version.
Yeah.
No, the good version in this.
Oh, is that what you
Version
meant?
in this.
Okay.
Yeah,
His
sorry.
redemption. Or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah, that's a good
the
redemption.
category is called.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think the humor was better in this movie. It was definitely had a lighter tone than
Mhm.
Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman is a very serious movie, and you know we can really sort of see that in Batman's voice.
Yep.
You know, and Batman's voice, and even Bruce Wayne's voice in Batman v Superman is like, you know, Alfred. You know, this is a god. We need to. If there's a
Alfred.
1% chance, Alfred, you must take it as absolute certainty. And
Yeah.
then, like in Justice League, he's like, "Hey, Wonder Woman, how's it going?"
Yeah.
he has a lighter voice, and even his bat suit voice was a lot more intimidating in Batman v Superman. Like I was really like he's quite physically imposing, intimidating in Batman v Superman. Whereas in this, he's like still Batman, still cool, still badass, but like I'm not like as scared of him as I was in Batman v Superman. Like you wouldn't want to be in a warehouse with that Batman v Superman.
No.
Batman.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys picked up. There was a lighter tone in this movie.
Oh, I didn't really notice it. Yeah.
I noticed it, and like it was in the scene where Cyborg had just like saved his dad from being murdered by Steppenwolf and stuff like that, and like he said something, and I was like, wait, what? Like it was so high that he's just wearing this like really cool menacing suit, and it's almost like a high pitched teenager boy voice just comes out.
He's like, turn on the interrogation mode.
From Spider-Man, hey, come
Yeah, I think it was like that. So it like surprised me. I was like, oh, that I don't think that fits. But then in some parts of the movie, it went back to that low menacing thing. So I don't know what was happening there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm Batman.
Where is he?
No. Any other questions? I think otherwise we might proceed on to perhaps the music section, unless I don't know. Is there any characters? I know we said Aquaman was sort of hard done by in the film. He
Didn't
sort of
have much to do.
yeah.
I feel like Cyborg's character was the biggest turnaround in terms of bad to good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I feel like Aquaman's character was probably better in the original.
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't watched it in ages, but
Yeah.
he kind of just felt underused in this film.
Yeah.
And it's sad because Jason Momoa as Aquaman is probably one of the best casting done in the DCEU. He just works so well as him.
Yeah.
I love Jason Momoa. I think he's great.
His abs are great too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a shame to see that a character was sort of mishandled in this film, because I think you have told me, Sam, that Jason Momoa and Zack Snyder are actually really good mates. So
They love each other. So cute.
it would have been interesting to see Jason Momoa's reaction to his...
Oh, he loved it. He
loved it?
bought Zack Snyder a camera. There's a video of him giving Zack Snyder a camera after he saw the Snyder cut. He was like, oh my God, like, is this like in
really?
2018 or something? And he's at Zack Snyder's house and he's like hugging Zack and he's all like, Snack, I love you so much. And this is like, you have this big, like, you know, Jason Momoa dude, Zack Snyder, Zack Snyder's like, he's got muscles on him, but like, he's like dwarfed in comparison. Jason Momoa's like, oh, Zack, I love you so much. And Zack's like, oh, thanks, Jason.
I was watching this interview with Jimmy Fallon and Jason Momoa the other night, and they were like throwing tridents, and like Jason Momoa was just like picking him up and like manhandling him and just like throwing him around and everything. Like,
yeah, he's so funny. He's a really like, you know, heartfelt guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he really loved the Snyder
he
cut.
did. Okay,
I think
that's good.
I think he has more like sort of badass scenes. Like there is a scene where like he, you know, obviously like when he stabs Steppenwolf is pretty cool because like he's the first, you know, obviously like Superman's been like, you know,
Pounding his face.
pounding Steppenwolf for like 10 minutes
Yeah.
over and over again.
That was just happening in the background. I remember that.
Bang.
Laser eyes, bam, laser eyes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like these heroes don't hold back. Like this was a serious, you know,
It's a dark
serious
film.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they're not afraid to get aggressive and make sure that this guy isn't going to come back.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if Thor just like came in and just like, you know, well, sliced Thanos' head off. I know he does that in Endgame, but like
He does do that.
If he did that straight up, then yeah, I don't know. Some people might be like, well, I don't know, maybe Thanos should go to prison. But regardless, I think Aquaman was the first person to like really show us that like Steppenwolf was not going to live. Like, he might have been, concussed several.
I want to give myself
times.
some credit for calling that, by the way.
Calling
I called it.
Steppenwolf died?
Yes.
Called it. Yeah.
He didn't get through the movie.
Nope.
Yeah, so Aquaman has cool moments, but
Could have been more.
yeah, I agree. The Flash is better too. The Flash is a lot better too, especially when he time travels.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Like, we were having a freak out when that happened.
Oh my god, I was like losing my mind, bro. I was like, Flashpoint. When's it happening?
Yep, you guys are fangirling, and I'm just laughing. You're like, oh my god. Literally.
I think it did happen. We just didn't really get the full explanation for it. Like, I think in the Flash film, we'll see the ramifications of what happened in this film.
Yeah.
When he was going back in time to obviously save Steppenwolf from destroying everything.
Because they lost.
Yeah.
They lost.
It was kind of like a whole time stone situation. Where it was like, okay,
A very short one,
you guys won. Nope. Time stone.
Yeah.
You guys are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said to you guys, like, when we were watching it, I loved how Bruce was sort of at the top, and he was like, he knows that they were going to lose. They're like, oh no, and he just jumps down. It's like, what is he gonna? He's gonna like just like throw himself in front of Steppenwolf or something, like. But then it's too late. He just goes, boom.
I think in a way it shows Bruce's like heroism.
Yes,
he's kind of like,
he's better in this.
I'm gonna go down with all of these guys if we're losing.
Yeah,
that
was cool.
Definitely more of a hero. In Batman v Superman, is sort of like. You can tell he was a hero once and he's lost his way.
Yeah.
He lost his mind,
Yeah.
He's sort of like a redemption in terms of the character, sort of. Now he's only just having really cool dreams where he dreams of, Deathstroke and the Joker. What did you think of Deathstroke, mate? I know you're a fan of Deathstroke. We saw him a couple times. Would have been cool to see him in action, but he looks good nonetheless.
Oh, he looks great. I love the character. I think I mentioned that I probably understand Flash's story the most because I've seen most of the content surrounding him. But also Deathstroke. I mean, I've watched the Arrow TV show. I don't know if you guys have, which I also understand that quite a bit. So Deathstroke as a character is really interesting, and I think he has a lot of potential within the DCEU. He's played by a great actor, Joe Manganiello, if I'm going to pronounce it right.
Something like that.
I think it was good what they did with him. They didn't show too much, but they teased a future film with him, which I think is maybe going to be Batman and Deathstroke, which would be really cool.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. And fun fact for everybody. So Jared Leto was obviously playing Joker in this film. He's the first actor since Cesar Romero to portray the Joker more than once in live action.
Is he?
And Cesar Romero was the first ever Joker in the Adam West movie, which is like, where he's wearing like
1980s
spandex. He's wearing like, a yellow sort of like morph
He's got like
suit.
the like cloth sort of cowl on.
He doesn't look intimidating. He looks like an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
The Batman in that movie. But yeah, so Jared Leto's the first actor to, since him to play the Joker twice.
That's cool.
Very interesting,
yeah. I would like to see him again too. That'd be cool. But any final thoughts before we go to the music segment and then we sort of wrap it up?
I think I've pretty much touched on everything.
Okay. Any other questions that you want to ask? Or
do we ship anyone in this
film? We ship. Thank you for reminding us. Oh, my goodness me. Who do we ship in this movie, Jaden?
Batman and No.
Gay rom-com action?
I mean, Lois Lane is obviously going to be out of action in the next one, so Batman's going to be there for Superman, just supporting him,
They almost kissed in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, they did too. So Batman vs Superman, that's what we should.
Yeah, that's what we should.
That's what shipping? Okay.
The Rewatch podcast officially ships Batman and Superman.
Batman and Wonder Woman.
Yes.
There we go.
That's right. I think Zack Snyder was having a bit of fun with it. There was no sort of like romantic chemistry between the two. It was sort of just a few moments where it was like, oh, this could lead to something.
Yeah.
But I think Zack likes the thought of Lois Lane and Bruce as a sort of like a, relationship there, which is odd. I've seen, how we pointed out the force majeure birth control thing? I hate to bring it up, but just in the video that I was watching this morning, someone was like, well, in the next movie, like in the story outline that was leaked by Zack Snyder himself, Lois is pregnant with Bruce's child.
What?
So there's like, she has birth control there.
Oh,
or like
no.
she has a force majeure or whatever,
What?
something. So maybe she's, you know, pregnant. But it doesn't look like, that's something that is not particularly, you know...
It's not heavy in the film. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything
I
to do
don't-
with it.
Yeah, I think that
yeah.
might be a bit of a reach, you know, I just like... But I thought it was odd that, like, she opens a drawer and what Snyder puts in the drawer for us to see
Yeah.
is birth control.
Yeah,
Like-
something's
Like,
going on there.
like I
Yeah.
get that you
100%.
don't... Yeah, maybe she's afraid to have Superman's baby, which, I mean, that's fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Spawn some demon child.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like flying around the house.
Yeah. I'd be terrified as well.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I think that might be a bit of a fan sort of
That's a big reach.
big reach. Yeah. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor is back. He breaks out of Arkham Asylum because we see at the end of Batman v Superman, Batman's like, you know, we have places to treat the mentally ill with compassion, called Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
And so Lex gets sent there at the end of the Batman v Superman. Then obviously he breaks out through some other means, and then he's on his nice boat, and then obviously going to set up some sort of Injustice League or, you know, a team of bad guys.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a lot to do in this movie,
No.
except, you know, just sit and talk to Deathstroke. But
Yeah.
it's cool to see him again. It's cool to see those continuation of characters, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else? I think we've about covered most things.
Yep.
Moving on to the music segment, I think the music in this film was fantastic. I couldn't hear a lot of it because, you know, we had to turn it down a bit.
Yeah.
But I imagine watching this film with headphones is going to be
Oh,
an awesome experience.
Yes.
The highlights, I think I speak for everyone when I say the highlights were Wonder Woman's theme,
Yeah.
Superman's theme. Batman has a new theme, which
Does
is
he?
cool. Yeah. Which is, and then there's also a song called The Foundation theme, which is like the Justice League. It's the song that plays, I think, when they're walking off the bat plane or whatever it's called, and with the shot with the smoke, and they're like, you know, walking down
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the elevator or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, so music's really good, composed by Junkie XL, so shout out. The song that I wanted to put in the Rewatch playlist, Jaden, was obviously Wonder Woman's theme, which has been taken up an octave to make it even cooler. And then we also have, actually I put 3 in. I need to take one of them out, but I don't know which one yet. In time, there's the Foundation theme, and then obviously Superman Rising, because obviously we get Black Suit Superman. You know, we haven't talked about him a lot, but he was hardly in the movie, so I guess it's sort of fair enough. But yeah, it was cool to see Black Suit Superman. It's another thing that Zack Snyder, like, the original intention was to have him in the blue and red suit, and then he listened to fans, they want the black suit, so he just changed the colour digitally.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's that easy, right?
yeah, it's that easy. So, yeah, and I love the shot. Probably one of my favourite moments in the entire film is like when he's goes into the alleyway and he rips open his shirt and it's the black and silver S.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
It's like one of the last shots of the film.
Yeah. It's such a Clark Kent thing.
Yeah.
They had to do it.
Gotta have that, because we didn't have that in Man of Steel.
No,
so.
yeah.
Alright, final thoughts. Who would like to go first? I don't know what I'm going to review this with, what rating I'm going to give it. Who wants to go first? Like, Heidi? I feel like you might have the most objective opinion.
Okay, well then mine might be very different to your guys.
That's
so
okay.
we shall see.
Yep.
I think it was overall a pretty good film. Some beautiful shots, beautiful slow-mo with like the rain. Like Zack Snyder knows what he's doing. He doesn't know how to be discerning and cut out some scenes that don't need to be there. Music was awesome. Overall, yeah, I think it was pretty good. So I would give it a B+.
I accept that.
Yeah.
You accept it? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
good.
Right.
Jaden?
My go? Okay. Yeah.
Procrastinating.
All the same stuff. I mean, Zack Snyder, he's definitely like a saving grace for the DCEU. I hope that they continue to employ him to do future films. He's kind of like the Kevin Feige figure of the DCEU. I think there's definitely an issue with the runtime, and Zack Snyder probably has an issue with that in terms that he probably struggles with cutting down stuff because he wants to fit so much in it, and he has trouble just trimming it down. So that's probably a major negative for me. I feel like Aquaman was probably poorly mistreated. I'm just trying to think of negatives, but there's not too many. I definitely think it was a huge turnaround from the 2017 Justice League. I don't know why you would ever watch that again.
Yeah.
I'd watch this like 10 times over than the other one. I think all the characters...
40 hours.
That is 40 hours.
40 hours?
I would rather watch 40 hours, yeah. All the characters, major redemptions. I know I just said Aquaman, but most of them had major redemptions. All the side characters were done well. Pacing was done well. I think the end credit scene, if you could call it an end credit scene, was a perfect cliffhanger. Jared Leto's Joker is very interesting. Good dynamic with Batman. Most of the on-screen interactions were great. Music was great, as usual, which is a thing that I have with DC. I think the music's so much better than the MCU. MCU music's just so forgettable. Probably other than...
Except for like the Avengers theme.
For it's like the only one they do, right?
Yeah.
Could you think of any other MCU film? Yeah, exactly, right? I'm just trying to list off a bunch of things, but yeah, it's definitely the best DCEU film, and for that I'll probably give it like a B+ as well.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I completely agree. It is the best DCEU film that I think by quite a bit. You know, Wonder Woman is really good, but this is just epic in scale. It's a really good sequel to Batman v Superman. You know, it just feels like the natural progression of the universe. You know, we had the Solo, then we had the duology and the Trinity with Wonder Woman, Batman and Superman, and now we've sort of, you know, blown it up to an incredible proportion. This is a guy who has a vision, and he's doing this vision because he's a fan of the material. The film was beautiful to look at. It sounded fantastic. I really enjoyed all of the characters. Aquaman was probably like my least favorite, but then again, like I wouldn't say he was bad at all. Just, you know, hard to use, but then again, you know, he's a swimming underwater man, so
he's always like the one that's left out, right?
Yeah, he's always like the odd inclusion, like you know, it's like whether to leave him out or not. But you know, I think the Atlantis scenes were cool, and obviously, you know, when Steppenwolf shows up, that was really cool. But yeah, I love just the action in this film. Probably not. I wouldn't say there's like a particular action scene that's like as good as like the Batman warehouse scene in Batman v Superman. Like I don't think there's like a specific action scene that's like incredible. I just think there's like tons of like, there's not a bad one. They're like just all pretty good. Like they're all good.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to like the whole movie. Except for maybe Cyborg. Cyborg was probably the only like outstanding thing. Like if all of the stories were as good as Cyborg's, and they almost are, but Cyborg was definitely a standout. For me, this is one of the best comic book films I've ever seen, because just comparing it to, you know, the likes of Infinity War and Endgame, and, you know, because you can only sort of compare it to films of the same sort of scale.
Yeah.
But regardless, I do you know, note the flaws. I loved the nightmare scene, even though it seemed a bit out of place. Martian Manhunter was cool. I'm going to have to give it an A-. So I'm going to go a bit above, but I think you could probably already predict that from the very start.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this film. It was an experience watching it. And for me, like, if a film is an experience, it's got to be like even in the A or like just in the B. The hard time that I was trying to have rating the film was whether it's going to be A- or B+.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to go A- because, you know, I want to be on the side of the people telling you that this is the best comic book movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sell it too short in the event that, you know, in a couple of weeks I might be like, oh, this is so much better than the first time I watched it. Because I feel like there's a lot of dialogue things that might have gone over our heads when we were first watching, because we were like, oh my god, this is so epic. We were talking constantly. I
Yeah.
was talking constantly, and we weren't able to hear, the specific reasons why, Cyborg's dad didn't go to the game, or and all like little nuggets of dialogue and backstory. But yeah, regardless, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Rewatch podcast. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at the Rewatch Pod. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search the Rewatch on YouTube. Next episode, God knows what we're doing, when it's going to happen. Stay tuned, I guess. Thank you to Heidi for coming on.
Thank you.
It was fun having you on.
Yeah.
Perspective. So that was fantastic. We'll link her letterbox below.
Yep.
And we'll link our letterbox below too. So if you want to see, we might do a written review in the next sort of week or so of this film. But yeah, thank you for listening, and bye for now.
Bye.
See ya.